Right now, somewhere in your body, an alarm is going off. You can feel it in your chest. Maybe your jaw is tight. Maybe your thoughts are racing towards something that hasn't happened yet. You call this anxiety. You think something is wrong with you, but the truth is far stranger than that, and far older. That alarm wasn't built for your inbox, or your group chat, or the meeting you have tomorrow morning. It was built 2 million years ago for a world that no longer exists. And it still hasn't gotten the memo. Picture your ancestors standing at the edge of a grassland in East Africa. The grass is taller than her knees. She cannot see what's moving inside it. Her heart starts pounding before her mind even understands why. Her palms go cold. Her breath gets shallow and fast. Every part of her body is preparing for one of two things: run or fight. This is not a malfunction. This is the system working exactly as designed. Researchers call it the fight or flight response, a term first coined by physiologist Walter Cannon in the early 1900s. Cannon discovered that when an animal perceives a threat, its body floods with adrenaline and cortisol within milliseconds. Heart rate spikes. Blood rushes to the limbs. Digestion shuts down completely, because digesting lunch is not useful when you might become someone else's. For nearly the entire span of human existence, this system kept people alive. A rustle in the grass could mean a leopard. A shadow at the edge of the firelight could mean an enemy tribe. The humans who felt nothing, who stayed calm and curious in the face of ambiguous danger, did not tend to survive long enough to pass on their genes. The anxious ones did. The ones who flinched first, who assumed the worst, who ran before they had proof. You are descended from the flinchers. You are descended from the ones who panicked first and asked questions later. That's the uncomfortable part. Your anxiety isn't a flaw in the machine. It's a feature inherited from thousands of generations of ancestors whose nervous systems were tuned for threat detection above almost everything else. But here's where it gets strange. The world your alarm system was built for is almost completely gone. There are no leopards in the grass outside your office. There is no rival tribe waiting behind the next hill. And yet, the alarm still fires, dozens of times a day, in response to things that cannot actually kill you. An unread message, a disapproving look, a presentation in front of 12 people. Your amygdala, the almond-shaped cluster of neurons deep in your brain responsible for detecting threat, cannot tell the difference between a predator and a Slack notification. Neuroscientist Joseph Ledoux spent decades studying this exact structure. His research showed that the amygdala processes potential threats before the rational, conscious part of your brain even gets a chance to weigh in. By the time your prefrontal cortex says, "This is just an email," your body has already been flooded with stress hormones for several seconds. You feel the fear before you understand it. This is called a mismatch. Your hardware is ancient. Your environment is brand new. And the gap between the two is where anxiety lives. Think about what modern life actually asks of your nervous system. It asks you to sit still in traffic while your body prepares to run. It asks you to scroll past 100 strangers' best days and not register each one as a tiny status threat, even though your ancestors only ever had to compare themselves to the 40 or so people in their tribe. 40 people. That's it. That was the entire social world for most of human history. Anthropologist Robin Dunbar's research suggests the human brain evolved to comfortably track relationships within groups of about 150 people, with the closest bonds limited to a much smaller circle. Now you carry the comparative weight of thousands of strangers in your pocket, and your threat detection system tries to rank you against all of them before breakfast. No wonder it feels like too much. It is too much. Not because you're weak, because the alarm was never recalibrated. There's something else your ancestors had that you don't, and it might be the missing piece: resolution. When the fight or flight response activated on the savannah, it had an ending. You ran. You escaped the leopard, or you didn't. The body discharged the stress hormones through actual physical movement, and afterward, your system returned to baseline. The threat was binary and brief. Your anxiety today rarely gets that resolution. The email stays unanswered. The diagnosis is uncertain. The financial worry doesn't disappear after a sprint through the grass. So the alarm just keeps ringing, sometimes for days with no chase and no escape to burn it off. Psychologist Robert Sapolsky, who spent years studying stress in wild baboons, found that animals facing constant, uncertain low-grade threats showed dramatically worse health outcomes than animals facing rare but intense danger. Chronic, ambiguous stress is more damaging than a single sharp crisis. Sound familiar? This is the shape of modern anxiety. Not one leopard in the grass, but 100 small rustling sounds a day, each one demanding the same ancient response, never fully resolved. So what do you do with an alarm system that's 2 million years out of date? You don't silence it. You can't. Not really, and trying often makes it louder. What you can do is give it what it's actually asking for. Movement, because your body still believes the threat requires running, and physical exertion is one of the only things proven to metabolize stress hormones the way they were designed to be metabolized. Boundaries on your information intake, because your nervous system was never meant to process the suffering and status of thousands of strangers simultaneously. And perhaps most importantly, a kind of translation. When your heart starts pounding before a meeting, you can tell yourself the literal truth. This is not a leopard. This is an alarm built for a world that no longer exists, misfiring in a world it was never designed for. That doesn't make the feeling disappear, but it changes what it means. You stop asking, "What's wrong with me?" You start asking, "What was this system built to protect, and what is it mistaking for danger now?" Somewhere in your body, an alarm is still going off. It has been going off in one form or another for 2 million years. It saved the lives of every single person in your direct ancestral line, all the way back. It is not broken. It is simply very, very old, doing its best in a world it was never built to understand.